Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET now, and let's continue with the stocks that are buzzing in trade. Unichem is the other stock that I'll talk about, and that one is actually not doing, is not buzzing. It's doing the opposite of buzzing. In fact, it is down about in excess of about 2.6%. It is snapped its 3-day gaining streak in today's trading session, and one of the reasons why, or the main reason why, is its earnings. If you look at the March quarter consolidated loss after tax, it's actually widened to 129 crore rupees as against 42.3 crore rupees a year ago, and it's incurred one-time expense about 126 crore rupees on back of a loss coming in and the loss widening on a year-on-year basis. Even if you adjust it also, it has widened quite a bit, Winnie. So one of the reasons why the stock is down about 2.6%, actually snapping 3-day gaining streak.
Okay, surely keeping an eye on that. Let's move on and put the spotlight on the pharma names, Lupin and Cipla. Gaurav, you've picked out both these stocks for us today. What is the reason for both of them being in focus?
Well, yes. When we talk about both these stocks, Lupin and Cipla, they are going to be in focus because Amphastar, one of the companies in US, has received FDA approval for albuterol, which is a drug in form of inhalation product. Now, why this is an important news for both these companies is that this drug actually contributed second largest revenue contribution for Lupin as well as for Cipla. Now, there is analyst says that the drug actually contributed around $60 to $70 million of the revenue for both the companies. But if you look at the chart, Cipla is actually up in trade, and the reason being that there is another news flow for Cipla. Cipla has actually got an approval for another drug which is called as glanretoride, which is an injection form. It actually is a upgradation of their older drug. They already have 20% market share for this drug, and analysts also believe that this can actually imply potential of almost $100 million further for their sales. And on back of this, if you look at the charts also, Lupin is down almost 4.5%, while Cipla is up in trade. So definitely watching out on both these companies now that Amphastar has received FDA approval for one of the drugs in US market.
Take a look at what the Nifty is doing at this point in time. We are just 30 points shy from that 22,900 mark. In fact, as we speak, we have actually scaled a fresh record high level as well for the markets. We are at the day's highest point. Sensex has scaled past that 75,000 mark. Once again, it's reclaimed that crucial or very prominent or crucial number coming in for the Sensex, Winnie. 75,000 once again back on the Nifty, remember, or the Sensex. And Sensex record high level was 75,124. So we are just, I believe, now 10 points away from the record high levels coming in for Sensex as well in today's trading session. So let's keep a very close eye actually, what even Sensex is doing.
It's almost going to be there in a second or so
near
for
the record high levels coming in for the Sensex. Yes, just counting down to those numbers, 75,124.28.
That point is also very important.
Yeah, that's the record high level coming in for Sensex. So yes, Sensex also inching towards that record high level in today's trading session. Remember, Nifty has already scaled. Nifty mid-cap index has also already scaled. So yes, it is the Sensex now.
Absolutely, keeping an eye out on the Sensex as well as the Nifty.
There you go. I think it has hit. Yeah, it has hit.
Let's put up the Sensex again once more, and that has hit the mark 75,124.8. That's 0.28. Yes, and we have crossed that 28 mark. So Sensex also at record high levels. You can see that coming in. Nifty mid-cap index at fresh record high. Nifty at record high levels. And that's a day that we've been seen coming today. Sensex also at record high levels.
Remember yesterday also you had this one very important, or 2 days ago that actually happened, the fact that the total market capitalization of BSE listed counters had surpassed that $5 trillion mark for the first time ever. And remember that, Vinny, from $4 trillion to $5 trillion, that entire journey was in less than 6 months. So it's a historic move coming in, a milestone that the BSE listed counters had hit, and today now there you go, Sensex has hit a fresh record high levels along with Nifty mid-cap.
Absolutely, and surely everything that we're seeing is a buzzing in trade today. Nifty mid-cap, Sensex as well as the Nifty. Let's carry on and keep moving with the stocks then that are buzzing in trade, and let's move on to the next one that we have, GMM Pfaudler. What's the reason for this being in focus?
Well, yes, the company reported a poor set of numbers. The revenue was down around 15%, came in at 741 crores versus 866 crore year-on-year basis, and the net profit was down about 14%, which came in at 28.7 crores versus 33.3 crores year-on-year basis. If we talk about operating performance, the EBITDA was down about 4%, came in at 91 crores versus 95 crores year-on-year basis, but there was a slight improvement on EBITDA margin side, which was up around 132 bips, came in at 12.2% versus 10.9%. If we talk about management commentary for FY 2024, they said that they saw an improvement in international business, but there was a slight contraction in the India business, and also they highlighted the pharma and chemical business saw a bit of downtick. For FY 2025, the management has given revenue guidance of about 3,700 crores and EBITDA guidance of 630 crores. If you look at the stock is trading down about 5%.
Okay, thank you. That's the word coming in on GMM Fodler, but let's move on and talk about Metro Brands. That's the one in focus after its Q4 numbers were reported, 7% uptick in terms of the revenues. Profits seeing a very sharp jump up of 126%. So profits are now at 156 crores versus just 69 crores last year at the same time. Margins are seeing an improvement to 27% versus 26% approximately last time. Yes, but what is the management saying in terms of the guidance going forward? We did have the CEO of the company, Mr. Joseph, joining in with us earlier in the day. Listen into what he had to say.
Well, that is the target. I think there are no indicators that would lead us to believe otherwise. That the business fundamentals are strong, right? So Metro has strong operational rigor. For last quarter, in our standalone business, we posted very good numbers. We posted 11% growth with a 17% improvement in profitability, right? So those are numbers that we've run to. But more importantly, if you look at the other indicators such as our EBIT and our PAT, they continue to be in the range that we guided to well into the when we had the post-COVID bump up, and we guided to it. I think at that time we were challenged by people to say why we're not increasing that. We knew there was a little bit of a post-COVID bump, so we kept that. We kept our guidance. We said we'd have PAT somewhere between 15 and 17%. We'd have EBITDA in the 30% range, and all our indicators are that there's no reason for us to walk away from that or be concerned about.
All right, so that's the management of Metro Brands as well, talking about the company and where it's headed from here on. But let's move on. Let's talk about Gujarat Pipavav then. And this particular counter is in focus. It's fallen approximately 4% on an intraday basis. There you go. It's seen a recovery with the rest of the market. The company's consolidated Q4 profit fell about 32%. This was hurt by a high exceptional expense tied to the 2021 cyclone as well as a legal dispute with one of its customers. But from there on, as you can see, the stock has made a good steady recovery from the day's lowest point. So watch out for Gujarat Pipavav in trade today. But apart from that, Vinny, one thing that you can't take your eyes off, and that has to be the way how the markets are panning out.
Actually. 1 minute, ITC results are out, and that's a very big surprise coming in. So I'm going to quickly open the numbers for ITC results. This is after a very long time that I'm not going to be waiting in office. Let me just look at the statement coming in. Overall revenues are at 1,752 crores. Versus last year was 17,000, I beg your pardon, 17,506 versus 17,752 right now is what we're seeing in terms of the revenue of the company. My expectation was at around 17,027, so almost in line for the revenue front. I'm going to be checking at the profits of the company and where they are moving as well. Okay, so let me check the profit. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Yes, so profit of the company is coming at around 5,000 is what I'm seeing and reading the number.
5,020 approximately.
Yeah, 5,020 because the print is very small. So 5,020 versus 5,086 is what the profit of the company is at. So yes, 5,020. Again, revenues and profits both are in line with the estimates. I'm sorry, we'll have to wait to calculate in terms of overall the number that we would see for the EBITDA margins. Let's not forget this revenue that we are flashing is including the excise. We have to minus the excise before we flash it. So I will request everyone to minus the excise. Naveen, very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in with us right now. And Naveen, what is the first look in terms of the numbers that you have for ITC? at least revenue patch surely seems in line with what one was expecting, right? Even after you minus slight, okay, after excise, it's a bit of a subduedness when you look at the revenue versus what we were expecting. But what is your expectation coming in there?
Yeah, so at least we see that there is a slight miss on the EBITDA numbers, but the margin still looks pretty good. So we'll have to again look at little more closely in terms of what the cigarette numbers are, and I think that segment has done better than expectations, right? So I see the cigarette revenue growth at around 8%, which we were expecting it to be in the range of around 4 to 5%. So I would say that that number looks slightly better to me. Overall consolidated numbers are slightly lower than expectations, but the key number is the cigarette business, because other numbers can move based on other income and some of the other segments which can be slightly seasonal in nature, like the agribusiness and other things.
Like you were talking about the agri-business also, that's continued to be under pressure, Naveen. Any thoughts on that, whether you look at the agri and the paper business, this time also that pressure is there. Is that something that maybe would continue for them?
Yeah, so two things. The agri-business is again very, very seasonal in nature, so can depend on the global prices as well as the inventory gains or losses. But the thing is that that is a business which does not get a huge multiple. Also, the profitability in that business is much, much lower than the company's average profitability. So, in terms of value driver for the company, agribusiness is not a value driver. Paper business, of course, considering the FMCG sector has not been that great, like it's starting to pick up slowly. But overall, I would say that the paper business is a reflection of the overall FMCG business in India. And I would say that FMCG business in India has not been great over the last 1 year. So from that perspective, the paper business has also been slightly slower. But I think the more important number that we will always be focused on, because that is almost 70% of the profits, is the cigarettes business and then the other FMCG business, right? These are the two businesses which are the key value drivers for the company, and those are the numbers that need to be closely examined.
Last question, what we're seeing in terms of cigarette revenue growth is at around 5%. What would the volumes approximately come in at? We had a 3-4% realization. So flattish volume, or what is the volume that you are anticipating for the cigarette volume right now?
See, our expectation was close to 0%, which is flattish volume. But I think probably they have delivered a couple of percentage points volume growth. Looking at the headline numbers, we have to still to figure out the exact number. But prima facie, it seems to be the case where they could have delivered a couple of percentage point of volume growth, which is encouraging, is what I would say.
Overall, you would just give ITC's numbers a thumbs up right now?
I would say that they're slightly better on the operating front. Overall, it could be a slight miss, but I think the operating numbers look to be slightly better.
Okay, Naveen, thank you so much, for joining in with us right now on ET Now and, giving us insight in terms of what we should be looking at in terms of ITC, cigarette revenue growth, and around 8% revenue growth is, I beg your pardon, in terms of the revenue growth we saw. So before I mentioned 5%, that was my mistake there. But yes, 8% growth, and that is why cigarette volume, maybe that percent we could see a bit of a increase in terms of the volume growth from what one was expecting, operationally better. But like Naveen was saying, maybe some bit of a miss and a bit of a subduedness is what we are seeing there, Cheryl. And right now the stock has recovered from the day's lowest point. So yes, keeping an eye out on that.
Absolutely, keeping an eye on Nifty, surpassed the 22,900 mark. While you were talking about ITC, you have Sensex that scaled past 75,200 mark as well. So yes, day of record-breaking streak coming in for the market.
Record-breaking, because I'm very happy ITC's come.
Absolutely.
Right now, clearly this is my happiness right now.
Record-making by ITC also that has come during market as well, within the market hours this time around. But let's shift focus on to an ET Now exclusive story then. And Tata Group is evaluating options to revive the IPO proposal for Tata Play. Tata Play's plan for IPO has been delayed for more than a year, even as the parent Tata Sons has been in active talks to purchase 10% equity stake in the television broadcast service firm from Singapore, Temasek. My colleague Anurag is here with all the stories. Anurag, over to you.
Tata Play is looking to revive its delayed IPO plan. after a 1 year hiatus, and Tata Play has been looking to sell this equity since 2022. In 2022, Tata Play was the first company in India to confidentially pre-file an IPO offer document with SEBI. Subsequently, in April 2023, SEBI had given its observation, and according to SEBI rules, Tata Play had a duration of 18 months to come out with an IPO. So this IPO plan had been delayed because over the last 1 year, Tata Sons, which owns a majority holding in Tata Play, had been talking to Temasek to buy out Temasek's 10% equity stake. Now those discussions with Temasek are active, and a deal with Temasek, it looks very likely. Now Tata Play, if they have to come out with an IPO plan with the same DRHP, they need to do it this year. Mind you that Tata Play has not yet come out with an updated DRHP, which is required according to the SEBI rules, which they need to do after the SEBI observations.
Rag, thank you so much for that. Keeping an eye out on those exclusive details there and updates coming in more on that front. But let's move on and actually slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more of the stocks that are buzzing in trade after the break.
Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET now. And let's talk about the stocks that are moving in trade. Gaurav, coming to you, Gland Pharma buzzing on back of its results.
Gland Pharma is definitely buzzing on the back of the result, because if you look at the numbers, those were quite strong for the company. So for example, when we talk about revenue, that was up almost by 95% on a YY basis. Net profit increased almost more than two-folds. Now it stands at 192 crore rupees versus what it was at 79 crore rupees. If we talk about EBITDA margin also, there also we saw some kind of improvement that improved almost by 187 basis point on a YY basis. Now it stands somewhere near 23.3%. And the company has also recommended a final dividend of 20 rupees, which is actually first time from the company since its listing. So apart from that, if you look at some commentary from the management, that has also been positive. Company has said that they have actually marked a significant rebound when it comes to their base business. They have also completed their first international acquisition, which is Cenexi, which is situated in Europe. Apart from that, they believe that biologics is likely to remain the key driver for the future business, and they are also going to have immediate priority on obtaining regulatory requirements. So all in all, a positive commentary coming up from company as well. If you look at the stock, it has already gone up almost by 4.5%. So definitely watching out this counter and see how it performs in coming days.
Keeping an eye out on that, but let's move on and talk about Gandhar Oil Refinery. And Jinay, why is this one in focus, and what's the news flow?
Company reported a clear miss on the earnings. The revenue was reported at 939 crores versus 1,103 crores, which saw a downtick of around 15% Q-on-Q basis. The net profit saw a significant downtick of around 76% on Q-on-Q basis, which came in at 12.1 crores versus 50.9 crores. If we talk about operating performance, the EBITDA saw a huge downtick of around 60%, came in at 33.5 crores versus 85.1 crores on Q-on-Q basis, and the margins again saw a downtick of 3.6% versus 7.7% on Q-on-Q basis. The board has recommended a dividend of around 0.5 per share, but if you look at the stock is trading down about 8% in today's trading session.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on Gandhar Oil, down and out in trade today. But let's move on Torrent Power. How is that performing in trade today, Gaurav? And what's the news flow here?
Torrent Power is another candidate for its earning, because if you look at the numbers, revenue was up almost by 8%. If we talk about net profit, that actually went down almost by 7.6% on a YY basis. But if you look at, and even if you look at EBITDA margin, that also went down almost by 100 basis points. Now it stands somewhere near 17%. But there is another news flow coming up once again in this company, is that the companies might go and raise funds via equity, which includes QIP option worth 5,000 crore rupees. Apart from that, company has also got an approval for raising funds via issuance of NCDs of up to 3,000 crore rupees in one or more tranches. That shows that the company has some kind of plan when it comes to expansion. And if you look at some management changes also, now Mr. Jinal Mehta has been elevated actually as Vice Chairman and MD of the company, while Mr. Jigish Mehta has been appointed as whole-time director of the company. on back of this, if you look at stock, now it has reacted positively. It is up almost 2.5%. So definitely watching out on this counter as well.
All right, it's just one-way street coming in for the markets. We have scaled 75,300 mark on the Sensex as we speak. Nifty is well comfortably above that 22,900 mark. We have to see if we are all set to touch the new pin code 23,000 for the Nifty in today's trading session at least. But yes, a good going for the markets as we speak. And remember, we still have tad bit more than an hour left of trading session. But let me come across to you, Jinay. Let's talk about Paytm, and this stock is in focus once again. It came up with its numbers. What are the brokerages saying?
So the Macquarie came up with and maintaining the underperformance rating with a target price of 275. They believe that this was a tough quarter, but the next quarter will be a tougher one as the RBI regulations impact will be seen in the next Q1. They believe that the company needs a strong support from the lending ecosystems to remain and which will be a key monitorable. And also Bernstein also came out on Paytm, which said that enough data points suggest that the business in the past has bottomed out in terms of payment volumes and user transaction. Lending volumes have also seen an uptick in the month of May to March to April. And if you talk about Q1 FY25, that will be a key monitorable as it will be a bottom out for the stock.
All right, let's mark the flashes on the bottom of your screen. Apart from the fact that the markets have hit some fresh record high levels, let's take a look at Page Industries' numbers. It's just trickling in. They've approved a dividend of around 120 rupees per share. Apart from that, if you look at the numbers, the PAT is actually coming higher by about 38% on a year-on-year basis, coming in at around 108 crore rupees. If you look at the revenue, it's seen an uptick of about 3.2%, coming in at around 995 crore rupees. Let's take a look at the EBITDA margin, because the EBITDA margin has seen a substantial uptick on a year-on-year basis. The EBITDA margin is coming at around 16.8% as against 13.9% on a year-on-year basis, and the EBITDA is coming also at around 167 crore rupees, which is an uptick of about 24 crore rupees. We are actually seeing a steady recovery in the stock. I will request my producer to just refire the line graph for you, because you will see the stock has seen a substantial recovery from the day's lowest point. Right now it's actually trading lower by about 1.2%. But let's not forget good numbers coming in, at least for Page Industries. On the surface, if you compare it on a year-on-year basis, but if you compare it with the estimates that's on the street, Vinny, it's actually missed the estimates on the street, because the street was expecting a profit of around 132 crore rupees. They were expecting a revenue of about 1,136, which is a tad bit below from those levels.
Okay, that's a tad bit below from those levels, so surely keeping an eye out on that. But with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Market Fatafat. So thank you so much, Gaurav, Jinay, as well as Vinay, for joining in with us. And viewers, don't go anywhere. Closing trades will take the action forward.